It was sunrise at Houghton-Hancock when Freelance was making lazy circles, patiently waiting for the massive double-decker lift bridge to open up. We had called the bridge on the VHF, requesting, as usual, 70 feet of clearance. Okay, you can head towards it now, Vicky. And you can give us a little more speed. Speed, Vicky. More speed. Okay, go for it. Time to go for it. Actually, asking for 70 feet of clearance is a slight overkill. Freelance's mast is only 47 feet tall, and our VHF antenna at its top adds a few more. But it always feels so much better to have a comfortable margin when passing under a bridge. I can't know for sure, but I kind of suspect that Bill Shaw had the standard 65-foot bridge clearance of the Intercoastal Waterway in mind when he designed this Pearson yacht back in the day. We did, of course, take the time to wave to the bridge tender. It's the right thing to do. Once we were through, the bridge tender wasted no time having the span go down again, although there was very little road traffic at this early time of the morning. We had been at the Twin Cities of Houghton-Hancock for a couple of days, visiting with our friends, and were now motoring westward on the Keweenaw Waterway, also known as the Keweenaw Canal. It was completed back in 1876 and cuts 25 miles across Lake Superior's huge Keweenaw Peninsula. This route avoids the strong east-flowing current at the top of the peninsula, which was an important consideration in the old times of the early steamships and wooden schooners, but today the commercial traffic is rarely seen in the canal, although you may occasionally see one of the smaller cruise ships, or the Isle Royale package ship called the Ranger 3 in the Waterway. But it's usually a busy place where there are plenty of fast-moving sports fishing boats and other recreational traffic. The channel is plenty deep. It's about 25 feet, as long as you stay within the buoys. We passed the familiar Lily Pond Harbor of Refuge, where we have often stayed overnight. It's intended for the freighters, but it's also a convenient stopover for the recreational traffic going offshore from the upper entry. Lily Pond is an all-weather harbor, and when we stop here, it saves us about 2 hours of travel time to and from Houghton-Hancock. The 2 hours are especially appreciated on the long days when we headed offshore towards the Apostle Islands, 80 nautical miles towards the west, but we were not going west today, we were going north. When we came a little further, we were pleased to see that the forecast decent southwesterly breeze was indeed blowing. Our sail covers were already off the main staysail, and we were hoping for a fast and pleasant day-long downwind sail. Once clear of the long breakwaters and the odd lighthouse, we intended to set a course for the beautiful Chippewa Harbor at the rugged Isle Royale National Park. Chippewa Harbor is due north from the upper entry, and the distance is about 55 nautical miles, which was one of the reasons for our early departure from Houghton-Hancock. It was a little before 10 when we crossed Lake Superior's shipping lanes. The 1,000-foot freighter James Barker was coming from the west, and the 750-footer Paul Martin was coming from the east, but the AIS showed there was no need for us to worry. We were passing between both by a wide margin. Of course, some might say that motor vessels are required to keep out of the way of sailing vessels anyway. That is true, but there's no way Vicky and I would ever play chicken with a 1,000-foot freighter. The stakes are just too high. Regardless, we were making excellent progress towards Isle Royale on a steady and comfortable broad reach. It truly was one of those rare and laid-back sailing days with perfect conditions, where you can enjoy a leisurely downwind run. For sure, it was nice to see it disproven, just for once, that every time you're on a tight schedule to go anywhere, it's bound to be a brutal beat to windward. In contrast, it was smooth sailing. Vicky had the somewhat boring deck watch, keeping an eye out for other boats, but the only one visible on the horizon was the Victoria Queen out of Hancock. It's a classic wooden yawl, captained by our friend Bill. Hal, our autopilot, was keeping us tight on our intended course. Having a reliable autopilot is absolutely essential when sailing double-handed or solo sailing on longer passages. When we closed in on the entrance to Chippewa Harbor, it was time to take down our main and jib topsail, and without the sail's stabilizing effect, Freelance's motion predictably changed. It's a bit rolly here, isn't it? Yeah, I can see the entrance to Chippewa right in front of us. We should be there in about 15 minutes. And we got the sails on.
Yeah. Looks like Victoria Queen is right behind you now.
Yep. We were going in ahead of Victoria Queen. Chippewa Harbor is a real hurricane hole, and by far our favorite fjord to tuck into at Isle Royale. It's such a pretty and peaceful place. But be warned, its entrance is winding and fairly narrow. If you ever wish to go in here, you should first carefully look at the Great Lakes Cruising Club's guides, Bonnie Superior Way, or both, and then come in slow and with a bow lookout. Polarized sunglasses are often a help. Vicky and I have been in here countless times, and we still exercise great caution. In fact, you have to be careful in all of Isle Royale. Its reefs and rocks are unforgiving. We have fortunately never had any dings or damage up here, but some of our friends have. In some ways, you could say that coming into Chippewa is like coming into an unmarked and tricky harbor entrance. And that's not too far from the truth. There actually used to be a thriving store and a busy commercial fishing camp near its entrance before Isle Royale National Park was established back in 1940. If you carefully look around, there's still some few remaining signs of the community. As you can see, parts of the channel go quite close to the shore, and there's a small island to starboard before you pass the dock and campground. The dock and campground are popular, and there are some really wonderful hiking trails connecting to the campground, but we prefer to push further into the fjord towards the end of the beautiful back basin. So what do you think? Good to be back? It's always such a nice place. To get there, you have to go through a straight and narrow rock cut. It looks like it could be artificial, but it's not. While passing through, you just have to stay in the middle of the channel. When we came through, the least steps we saw here was about 10 feet. The anchorage down by the bottom of the fjord is large, and it has the best protection, although the outer basin and dock also are well sheltered. But Vicky and I like the back basin the best. When you are tucked in back here, you will rarely feel any of the heavy weather that may be raging out on the open lake, and it has more solitude. It was heavily overcast the next morning. Freelance was riding easy on its anchor, and Vicky and I were enjoying the absolutely perfect setting. Our plan was to spend a few leisurely days here before moving on. Bill and Mike from the Victoria Queen went off fishing in the dinghy. Victoria Queen is such a fine-looking wooden yawl, which Bill lovingly maintains to the highest standards. It's a rare thing of beauty. So what kind of fish are we having here, Bill?
Northern pike and laketrout.
And you just caught it this day, huh?
Right.
So this is the world's best fish? Without a doubt?
Without a doubt.
Yeah. Well, thanks for coming on, guys.
Thank you.
Nice to have met you.
Well, yeah.
See you tomorrow.
Should be a quiet evening. It was raining off and on the next day. That was all right. Everything was quiet, and Vicky and I were not planning on going anywhere that day, and neither were Bill and Mike, or any of the other anchored boats for that matter. This kind of day is a perfect time for Vicky and I to just relax and read books. And the scenery at Chippewa Harbor is always grand to look at, regardless of the weather. It was just another whole damn paradise. Of course, it would be nice if there was an occasional moose coming down to feed along the shores, but the back basin has never been the best place to spot them. They like feeding in the shallows, and the shore here is generally deep too. When visiting such a pretty wilderness anchorage, it's always fun to take a look around with the dinghy. So hoping we were between some minor rain showers, I hopped in a dinghy and went over to Victoria Queen, where Bill and Mike were enjoying the surrounding scenery from up on deck. We chatted some and of course arranged for another communal dinner. Then I left to check out the small natural landing and primitive trail that leads west to a large and charming inland lake before slowly turning back. This has been kind of a day with some sunshine but mainly overcast. I hope tomorrow that we can have decent conditions for going down to
Windigo on the west side of Isle Royale and spend a couple of days down there. It's always a fun place to hang around in Washington Harbor.
We were hoping for clearing skies and fair winds, just like the weather service had indicated. And early in the evening, we finally started to see some welcome blue skies. It was again very early in the morning when we fired up the diesel and made our preparation to leave our favorite wilderness anchorage. It's always my job to take up the effort. It's a legacy task from before we installed our fancy electric windlass. In my opinion, that electronic windlass surely is one of the best labor-saving boat improvements that we have ever made. With the anchor up and secured, Vicky smoothly swung Freelance around in a calm anchorage, and leaving our friends in Victoria Queen behind, we headed down towards a narrow cut to the first basin. We were looking forward to be moving again. Boats are not meant to stay in harbor or in an anchorage for long, and I usually get itchy to move after a couple of days, even in such a beautiful and favorite wilderness spot as Chippewa Harbor. It sure looked like it would be another fine day out on the open Lake Superior with a favorable weather forecast for an easy passage west to Windigo and Washington Harbor.
Thanks for watching our video. We hope you liked it, and please don't forget to click on like and subscribe. It helps us a lot and it's free.